The Cellcast is recorded in front of a live streaming audience.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast Plus. Joining me today is a man who's so round. Hang on. Let me do this right. Where'd the quote go? I lost it. Come on. I'll get to it. Okay. Joining me today is a man who's so round, so firm, so fully packed. Welcome, Jacob.
I've never been described like that, but thanks. Why, thank you, Labidu's our co-host, man who just randomly popped up at the very end of the movie in a boat and you can't see him walking through.
Well, technically, it was just a voiceover role. I wasn't actually there.
Okay, so it was
just some guy, it was just some guy with a fishing line that had a cigarette at the end of it. He was kind of just doing that kind of number.
Yeah, bobbing it.
Yeah, that's the best joke there.
I gotcha.
Tonight, yes, we are doing once again a Cellcast Plus episode where we review a live action film. And instead of the last Plus episode where we talked about a very dour film involving a monster,
Yes.
we're now talking about a funny film involving not one, not two, not three, but technically four monsters, even though one's just a cameo.
Yes.
Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein and Dracula and the Wolfman.
Invisible Man for a half
Invisible
second.
Man for a half second. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the spoiler-free part of this.
Yes.
Certified fresh and spoiler-free.
I'm not sure how many times I've watched this, but I know it's less than 10.
Uh-huh.
So like 7, maybe 8 times I've seen this film.
Yeah.
For one reason or another. I know I caught it once on like a Turner Classic Movies broadcast, and I remember thinking it was hilarious. It's like, oh, it's Abbott and Costello. I know these guys, mostly from the Who's on First skit.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I'd never seen one of their movies. I'll give this a shot. And I enjoyed the fool out of it. And then one year when I was at Walmart, back when I was still working at Walmart, they had a 4-pack of like a bunch of the Abbott and Costello Meet Monsters films that I bought. One of the last things I bought with my employee discount. It included, I think, The Invisible Man, The Mummy, and I can't remember what the fourth one was. But along with this one. And honestly, this is still the best one. And I originally I thought this would replace Young Frankenstein as a yearly Halloween film. Instead, I just quit watching a yearly Halloween film. And I've seen this a bunch of times. It's a classic film. If you like monster movies, or if you just like good comedy, you should go watch this. It is, I think this might be one of the first films we've actually done that is on like No, because we did What's Opera Doc that's in the National Film Registry.
Right.
But this one is preserved in the National Film Registry also. And I think
so is Back to the Future.
And Back to the Future is too. I forgot about that. So, yeah, this is one of the good ones. And when we were starting to get set up for Halloween, I thought, it's going to have been a long time. We hadn't done a live a plus film since The Wedding. We need to do at least one before the end of the year. There's always a good Halloween film. What's one I could stomach? Because I don't like scary horror stuff.
Fair.
That's just me. But this one I can deal with. So yeah, and it's the classic horror comedy. Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. It's one of my favorites. Jacob, what is your thought?
My first initial thought of this film was, again, I get picked on so much because I didn't watch a whole lot of black and white stuff when I was a kid.
Right.
Because
honestly, I do get it.
Yeah.
Because
it was boring as a kid.
Well, no. For you, perhaps.
Yeah.
I get the idea. It's like, oh, it's in black and white. That means it's old.
Yeah, exactly.
Who wants to watch old stuff?
Yeah.
I was like that as a kid, but granted, I ended up watching a lot of old stuff as a kid too. So.
Right. Yeah. So I'd heard about this film. Obviously, you'd be like, if you're around like movies and like us, you hear about it. But there again, I don't think I ever watched it until we were over at a friend of ours, and
he's been on the show. It was Chase.
Yeah, Chase was on the show at one point, and he just like Drew was sick, and was like, "Oh yeah, let's watch this movie." I'm like, "What?" It's like, "Oh, this film." Okay, so I remember watching like half of this thing. Not what I don't remember watching the entire thing, but I know we watched it.
Yeah,
but I really enjoyed it, and then he put on the list, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that'll be interesting." Because they're gonna be like, "I've grown up. I'm now in my 40s, and I have a more fondness for films, and it's like you have more of appreciation for film." And hint, you do a podcast about films,
exactly.
So I watched it and absolutely loved it. Like every single moment is like, "Oh my gosh, where has this been my entire life?" And I'm very shocked. Like my own dad, who loves action movies, like didn't have this, because it's an action movie, but it's a comedy. It's more of a comedy than anything. But
it's an action horror comedy.
Yeah, it's an action horror comedy, and it's just a great, wonderful little slice of cinematic history.
Yeah.
Where you have Abbott and Costello, who at that time were like the biggest names. Well, one of the biggest names in Hollywood.
This is as their popularity was starting to fall.
Yeah,
they were still big names, but I mean, like this was after their golden age. They were big stars.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that kept them going for a while. Yeah. And you can tell that when you look at the rest of the Abbott and Costello meat monster films, because they're following a formula that worked once. Yeah. And they kept trying to repeat it for a bit. And it's not long after this that the duo broke up. Like it's just a couple years after this.
Right. Yeah, but overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. It'd be like, it is a classic beyond belief. If we were on retro, it would be a classic all the way.
Yes.
Thanks, Roy.
You're welcome, Roy.
But
you'll note I'm not playing a sound effect that I don't have.
Yes. Anyways, so yeah, I'd be like, I will give this movie all praise. It is amazing. I can't wait to get into our likes, and I guarantee our dislikes are gonna be about this long.
This may be a quick episode. This might we get to dislikes.
Yeah,
but let's just go ahead and jump into it.
Yes.
The following is a spoiler-filled review for the film Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Listener discretion is advised. I should start off with the actual full name of this film. Is actually Bud Abbott and Lou Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Yeah.
It was directed by Charles Barton, who would go on to direct The Shaggy Dog for Disney. It was also written by Robert Lees, Frederick I. Rinaldo, and John Grant. It includes elements of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, Dracula by Bram Stoker, and The Wolfman by Kurt Siodmak.
Okay, so just a clarification for our audience. So when you said the Shaggy Dog, there's two Shaggy Dogs.
The original Shaggy Dog.
Yeah, the original Shaggy Dog, not the one they made.
Not the newer one.
Yeah, not the newer one.
Just the original, the Shaggy Dog.
The OG.
The one that had a sequel called The Shaggy DA.
That's what I heard. It wasn't that good, apparently.
I don't remember watching it.
I never watched it.
I'm not saying I didn't. I'm saying I don't remember it. I remember liking Flubber better.
I remember
Both Flubbers better.
Both Flubbers.
But okay. Like when you're comparing it to their Shaggy Dog counterpart.
Right.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Getting into the cast, we of course got Bud Abbott and Lou Costello playing Chick Young and Wilbur Gray, respectively. And of course, they are a classic comedy duo that started in vaudeville and had many, many movies together. But probably their most famous act is, of course, Who's on First. And if you've never seen that, pause the show right now and go watch it. You owe it to yourself. Trust me. You have seen it, right?
Yes, I've seen it multiple times.
Okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure we didn't need to pause the show.
It's like, no. What is this? First on second?
Who's on first? What? No.
What is
who's
this?
on? Who, no. Who's not on second? Who's on first? I don't know. Third base. Ta-da. I don't do it as good.
Ba-dum-bum.
Lon Chaney Jr. was played Lawrence Talbot and the Wolfman. They are the same character. And along with being the most prolific version of the Wolfman, in fact, I think he was the only actor who played the Wolfman in those movies. He in the movie High Noon, he played Martin Howe.
Okay.
Bela Lugosi played Dracula. And he would go on to, in his final appearance in film, though not one of the nice ones, in the Ed Wood classic film Plan 9 from Outer Space, he would appear for a grand total of 5 seconds as the Ghoul Man in that film. Yeah. And every other time the Ghoul Man was on, that wasn't him. It was actually like somebody's dentist. But Ed Wood got like 9 seconds, got a short bit of film of Bela Lugosi doing his Dracula walk, and then Bela Lugosi passed. Yeah, sadly. And then Ed Wood made a movie out of it for Bela Lugosi, in Bela Lugosi's honor. And it's a weird film if you've never seen Plan 9. Glenn Strange played Frankenstein's monster. However, his most famous role is in the television series Gunsmoke, where for 222 episodes, he played the barkeep, Sam Noonan. Lenore Aubert played Sandra Mornay, or Dr. Sandra Mornay, I should say, and in the movie The Prairie, played Ellen Wade. Jane Randolph played Joan Raymond, who was the lady from the insurance company. And she played a character named Alice Moore in a movie called Cat People. Wow. And going off of the poster, it is not about people who like cats.
Do they morph into cats?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Like cat people.
Oh, cat people. So it's not a play of cats.
Not cats who like... It's not the movie Cats. No. It's what's the Jellicle Cats were probably based off of.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Frank Ferguson played Mr. McDougal. And in the movie This Gun for Hire, he played Albert Baker. Charles Bradstreet played Dr. Stevens. And in the movie The Unfinished Dance, he played Fred Carlton. Last but not least, in his uncredited role of the Invisible Man, we have Vincent Price.
Yes.
Which I'm guessing this has got to be one of his earliest roles.
It has to be. Isn't that like where Vincent Price primarily got his role?
I think he did a lot. Well, I don't know when he played the Invisible Man outside of this. I think he like Christopher Lee did a bunch of the Hammer horror films.
Yes, did.
But I don't really know much more than that. I didn't know he got very popular with what's his name? Still makes movies. Edward Scissorhands. He played the doctor in that.
Good question.
Who the director of that film is?
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton. Yeah, I know he did a lot of the Tim Burton stuff.
Oh, okay.
But in one of his final roles, in The Great Mouse Detective, he was Professor Rattigan.
Yes,
in one of my favorite villains of all time, because it's Vincent Price having a ball as a giant rat.
Yeah, so
he's a mouse.
Yeah, he's a mouse. Don't call him a rat.
He's not a rat.
Do not call him a rat. Otherwise, he will feed you to his cat,
Felicia.
Just hint, there might be a shirt coming out for that. Just let me know
once I get around to actually working on the art.
Exactly.
And it's not like I have to do the art for it. It's like Jacob's already drawn the thing. I just need to do the part where it goes on the shirt.
Yeah, just wait for that shirt to come out. It's if you know the show, you'll get it.
Oh yes. Kingdom Hearts connections. How many do you think we have? And before you go and thinking, oh, this is too old, there's one actor at least from this era who has a role in Kingdom Hearts.
2.
Lower.
1.
Lower, actually.
Really?
There really is no one.
You tease that up perfectly.
I teased it up to drop you down.
Exactly. Thanks for nothing, Drew.
You're welcome. What do we got in info and stuff?
All right, so info and stuff. Give me 1 second. All right, so info and stuff. IMDb has a 7.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has a 90% audience or critic score and an audience score of 87. It's available to watch on Amazon Prime Video as a member.
As of right now.
Yeah, as of right now.
I'm strongly suspecting it's there because of Halloween.
Yes.
I can't guarantee if you're watching this at a different time of year that it's still there.
Yeah, which is highly recommend. Go watch it if you are a Prime member right now, because they have all the original monster movie, Universal monsters. Yes. They're like, now I'm curious where all the Hammer films are.
You will have to ask our good friend Nate Marchand on that, because I think he has a better idea than we do.
Oh, okay. Hey, Nate, if you're watching, please let us know. Anyways, so it was produced by Universal International Pictures Co. Inc., distributed by, obviously, Universal Pictures, at a runtime of 83 minutes. Release date. Now, this was interesting. In my research of looking on the Wikipedia page and several other places, so it debuted on June 25th, 1945, at the Forum Theater in Los Angeles, California. It debuted on the 8th of that same month, in that same year, nationwide. Here's the kicker, though. Universal International did not have the copyright of the film until August of 1948.
That's weird.
Yeah, they didn't have the copyright to it.
That means that means anyone could, like, there wasn't a home video market at the time.
No, that wouldn't be the 80s.
That means if somebody got a hold of a work print, they could have released it at that for that short amount of time, and Universal could do nothing about it.
Exactly.
And it does actually bring into question, why were they even then at that point? That's what, 2 years difference?
No, it's a matter of months.
You mean I thought you said it was 45.
No.
48.
I apologize. Be like, this all takes place in 1948.
1948. Okay.
Yeah, all takes place in 48.
In that case, it's a little more understandable.
Yeah, it's a little understandable.
But the way I heard it a second ago is like, then why were they given the copyright to the film if they messed it up that bad?
But also, you got to think this is the 1940s, because copyrights really weren't a thing in the 40s.
Copyrights were still an early phase. It was just something you did to scare people off.
Yeah,
at this stage.
Yeah, because
it was not. It wasn't something that's like they weren't trying to protect stuff like Disney would be later do with the Mickey Mouse cartoon.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let me see. Box office. It had a budget of $800,000. It gross, because we don't have weekend numbers or what have you, because this was a lifetime ago for many other people.
Before they even thought to publish all this stuff.
So it grossed over, I think this is with inflation, I could be wrong, $4.7 million, and it earned a little more internationally. So again, these numbers could be our adjustment for inflation, because they're, again, you're 1948 to the 20th century, so you give that what it takes. All right, so home video. This has an interesting historical point when it comes to its home release. Again, you did not have
on all the formats.
Yes, it was on all the formats in the late 70s when you started having these formats come out.
Yeah.
And when the ideal time was to go rent a film or buy a film for about $80.
Yeah.
On Laserdisc or VHS. Just wrap that around your head for a second.
Yeah, because it was a hard VHS was a hard one for them to produce copies for to begin with.
Yeah.
And yeah, it did get a lot cheaper, but this was still luxury items, folks.
Oh yeah. All right, so let's get into this a little bit.
They couldn't do it fast. It literally took the runtime of the movie to record a new copy. So
yeah, as it is. All right, so the film released on Laserdisc. Douglas Pratt, author of Laser Video Disc compilation, described the disc as a highly sought after only a few hundred copies were issued by MCA Disco Video label release, along with the first video disc title produced in 1978. So that's interesting. So if you're one of these collectors who like to collect videos, I guarantee that's one of the rare ones you want to find. I don't know how much this thing costs on eBay. I wish I would have looked it up, but it's probably worth a pretty penny.
Especially since if that's one of the first ones you said?
Yeah, one of the very first ones. It was on a Laserdisc.
It may be unplayable on that Laserdisc.
Probably. Because
especially the early productions runs of that stuff have suffered so much from disc rot,
right,
that they're virtually unplayable now.
Yeah, but I don't think the idea of be just owning the disc and owning the artwork. I think it's the primary.
I get that, but I mean, rotting is gonna make it worth less than if it was still playable.
Oh yeah, I agree.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to find this stuff while I do this. All right, so it was reissued as an encore edition afterwards. Its first release on DVD, apparently it skipped the VHS market. Maybe, I don't know.
It may just not be recorded.
That's probably.
I can't imagine it never was on VHS.
Yeah. All right. So, as I look up information over here,
prolific as VHS was.
Yes. Let's see.
I can see it skipping capacitance disc and Betamax and some of the other lesser used formats.
Yeah.
But I can't see it not being on VHS.
Oh, okay. So I believe the later editions on Laserdisc are running like $25 to $30 on Blu-rays. I can't find what the earlier editions. They oh, here we go. Let's see. No, it's more of a signed one. That's like $300. But yeah. It's apparently it's a rare gem to find, like one of the early prints of this thing. But moving forward, let's see, it was reissued, the first issue on DVD in the whopping age of August 29th, 2000. There again, the film was released in 1948. It was released on Laserdisc in the late 70s into the 80s, and then it was only released on DVD in 2000.
Okay, I have found
the span of like 60, 70 years.
I have found a 1991 issue of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein on VHS on eBay.
Oh, really? How much is it running?
Let me bring it up. $8 with free shipping.
Okay, not bad.
You could get it here by October 16th.
Okay, cool. Do I find myself? I guarantee if I bought that, I guarantee my wife is like, "Why are you spending money on that? Wasting money on that?"
She's probably wondering why you have those Star Trek VHSs in your collection.
Probably. But hey, those are films that I cherish, and I wanted them on another format, so I did.
Fair enough. I can't talk. I've got them on VHS also.
And you have other ones, other formats.
I have it on VHS. I have it on DVD. I have it on Blu-ray. I don't think I have it on any other format. I wish I should have looked up to see if it was ever released on HD DVD, because I know the first season of the original series remaster was. But anyway,
yeah. So it was again re-released several times as part of a different Abbott and Costello collections. The best of Abbott and Costello Volume 3 in 2004, and in 2008 as part of the Abbott and Costello Complete Universal Picture Collection. In 2015 with Abbott and Costello Meet the Monster Collection.
That's the one I had. The Meets the Monsters
collection. Oh, okay. The film's Blu-ray debut and DVD re-release was September 4th, 2012 as part of the Universal's 100th anniversary series. It was also included on the Frankenstein Complete Legacy Collection in 2014, along with 7 other Universal Frankenstein films, because the film included the characters and people featured in their own collections. It was part of the legacy collection of Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, in the best of Abbott and Costello collections. I tried finding a where this movie ranked in 1945. That's not happening.
Yeah, because it's just hard to find.
Yeah, it's extremely hard to find that information.
Yeah.
Now, if people who maybe are watching now or later be like, and you know that information, please get a hold of me and let me know, because that information is very interesting to me. Where movies wound up, where they were definitely in the golden age of cinema.
It obviously did well, since there's like 4 like sequels to this.
Yes, and there's multiple collections of it, so it is very sought after. So yeah, I'll be curious where it actually landed in the theater ranking in 1948 and whatever re-releases there were.
Right.
That would be interesting to find out too. So anyways, that is all I have for info and stuff.
All right, getting into the summary. Larry Talbot makes an urgent phone call to a railway station in Florida where Chick Young and Wilbur Gray work as baggage clerks. Talbot tries to warn Wilbur of a shipment due to arrive for McDougal's House of Horrors. However, before he finishes, the moon rises and Talbot transforms into a werewolf, causing Wilbur to think the call is a prank. Meanwhile, McDougal demands the crates be personally delivered to his wax museum. Chick and Wilbur deliver the crates after hours. They open the first one and find Dracula's coffin. When Chick leaves the room to retrieve the second crate, Wilbur reads the Dracula legend and the coffin suddenly opens, and Dracula sneaks out. Wilbur is so frightened he can barely articulate his call for help. When Chick returns, he refuses to believe the story. The boys open the second crate, and Chick goes to greet McDougal. Dracula hypnotizes Wilbur, finds Frankenstein's monster in the second crate, and reanimates him. Both leave, and McDougal finds the crates empty and has Wilbur and Chick arrested. I keep wanting to say Chuck, but his name is Chick.
Yeah, Chick. Which is a very interesting, like, okay, his name's Chick. But there again, it's a different time period.
Yeah. That night, Dr. Sandra Mornay welcomes Dracula and the monster to her island castle. Sandra has seduced Wilbur as part of Dracula's plan to give the monster a more obedient brain. Meanwhile, Wilbur and Chick are bailed out of jail by Joan Raymond, an undercover insurance investigator who feigns love for Wilbur, hoping to gain information. Wilbur invites Joan to a masquerade ball that evening. Talbot takes the apartment across the hall from Wilbur and Chick and asks them to help him find and destroy Dracula and the monster. Wilbur agrees, but Chick remains skeptical. Wilbur, Chick, and Joan go to Sandra's castle to pick her up for the ball. Wilbur answers a telephone call from Talbot, who informs them that they are in fact in the House of Dracula. Wilbur reluctantly agrees to search the castle and soon stumbles upon a basement staircase where he has a few close encounters with the monster. Meanwhile, Joan discovers Dr. Frankenstein's notebook in Sandra's desk, and Sandra finds an insurance investigator ID in Joan's purse. Dracula, under the alias of Dr. Lejos, introduces himself to Joan and the boys. Also working at the castle and attending the ball is the naive Professor Stevens, who questions some of the specialized equipment that has arrived. After Wilbur says that he was in the basement, Sandra feigns a headache and tells the others to attend the ball without her. In private, Sandra admits to Dracula that she feels they are not safe to conduct the experiment. Dracula then turns her into a vampire. At the masquerade ball, Talbot accuses Lejos of being Dracula, but no one takes him seriously. Joan soon disappears. Sandra lures Wilbur into the woods and attempts to bite him, but fails while looking for Joan. Talbot becomes the Wolfman and attacks McDougal. Since Chick's costume is a wolf, McDougal accuses Chick, who escapes and witnesses Dracula hypnotizing Wilbur. Chick is also hypnotized and rendered helpless. While Dracula and Sandra bring Wilbur, Stevens, and Joan back to the castle, the next morning, Chick and Talbot meet up in the bayou and set out to rescue Wilbur and Joan. Wilbur is quickly freed, but Dracula uses hypnotism to call him back. As Sandra prepares to cut into Wilbur's brain, Talbot and Chick burst in. Chick knocks out Sandra with a chair, and Talbot tries to release Wilbur, but turns into the Wolfman again. Frankenstein's monster breaks free of his bonds, and Sandra tries to control him, but he throws her out of the window. After a chase through the house between Chick, Wilbur, and the monster, and a face-off between Dracula and the Wolfman, Dracula transforms into a bat, but is pounced on by the Wolfman, who drags the two of them to their deaths. Chick and Wilbur escape in boats, while Joan and Stephen set the pier ablaze, while the monster is standing on it, and he dies in the flames. Wilbur scolds Chick for his earlier skepticism, and Chick remarks that he has nothing to fear now. The Invisible Man addresses them from the boat's thwart as they flee in terror. Firstly, I didn't put this in the trivia, but I remembered it while I was reading this that I came across. The scene where they throw is it Joan through the window?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, no, Sandra. They throw Sandra through the window.
Yeah, that was like, oh my gosh, they should threw a woman through a window in the late 1940s.
That is the only scene in the film, or at least from my understanding, it's the only scene in the film where Frankenstein's monster is not played by Glenn Strange, because he happened to be sick that day.
Really?
Instead, Bela Lugosi threw on the costume and plays him during that scene.
Really?
Yeah. Lou Costello didn't want to make the movie, declaring, "No way I'll do that crap. My little girl could write something better than this."
I've heard this.
A $50,000 advance in salary and the signing of director Charles Barton, the team's good friend and the man some call their best director, convinced him otherwise. Although he would play similar vampires, ghouls, zombies, and others in other films since Dracula in 1931, this would be only the second and final time that Bela Lugosi would play Dracula in a feature film.
Wow.
When trying to seduce Wilbur, Sandra says that he is so round, so firm, and Wilbur says so fully packed. And I'd like to keep it that way. This is making fun of the slogan for Lucky Strike cigarettes, which was one of the most pervasive taglines in the history of advertising. Beyond this, a song using the same tagline the previous year was a major hit for Merle Travis, as well as a couple of popular cover versions. The scene in which Wilbur unknowingly sits on the Frankenstein's monster's lap required multiple takes. Lou Costello improvised wildly, causing Glenn Strange to break up laughing constantly during takes.
I can imagine.
Originally, the Mummy was to be included in the cast of monsters, but that idea was eventually dropped.
Who? Sorry?
The Mummy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would just make a very packed movie extremely more packed.
Oh, yeah. Bobby Barber was employed for the film as a court jester. It was his job to keep the energy level up through a series of practical jokes and deliberately blown takes. Often, when Lou Costello expected Lon Chaney Jr. to come through the door, Barber would run in wearing a hat and cape and immediately run back out. Bela Lugosi enjoyed Barber's antics as long as he was not the victim. On one particular occasion, while filming a scene in which the solemn and sinister Dracula descends the staircase, he was followed by Barber, who imitated his every move. After the cast and crew burst into laughter, Lugosi glared at Barber and yelled in his thick Hungarian accent, "We should not be playing while we are working," and then stormed off the set. The animation sequences of Dracula as a bat and Dracula changing from bat to Dracula were done by Universal International's animator Walter Lantz, who is famous for Woody Woodpecker.
Exactly.
The scene where Lou Costello was punched through the door was by accident.
Really?
The monster's fist was supposed to smash through between Bud Abbott and Costello, but Costello accidentally took a tiny step forward while delivering his line and put himself into the line of fire. The punch was a real surprise, but Costello kept the scene going, creating this classic moment. Boris Karloff, the original actor who plays Frankenstein's monster, refused to play the monster in this film, but as a favor to Universal, he agreed to do publicity for this film as long as he didn't have to see it. In several photos taken by Universal's publicity department, he is seen standing in line purchasing a ticket at a theater in New York City where the film is playing, and in other stills, he is shown admiring the poster art for the film outside the theater lobby. Karloff later starred with Bud Abbott and Lou Costello in Abbott and Costello Meet the Killer, Boris Karloff in 1949, as well as Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in 1953. This is the final appearance of the classic Universal monsters, Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and the Wolfman, in a Universal feature film. Both Dracula and Wolfman fell from a balcony into the water below. Water isn't normally known as a method to defeat the Wolfman, although moving fresh water is supposed to keep a vampire inert. Frankenstein's monster ends up walking into fire and crashing through the dock. This would be fatal normally, but the monster has been known to survive fire in the past. Regardless, Universal wouldn't produce another film with all three characters again until Van Helsing in 2004, more than 50 years later.
Oh my gosh, that movie.
Now that doesn't mean they didn't make other films with the characters separately.
Agreed.
This is the next time they all three were together at the same time.
Yeah, I saw Van Helsing in theaters.
A good film.
It's a good film. I think like when we watched it, we mercilessly made fun of the actor who was playing Dracula.
Yeah.
I'm not going to repeat what we said, but it was so funny. Again, I need to go back and watch that film and get more of a like another perspective, because every time I see that character hear him, it's just more like just cracking up at this character. But yeah, I totally get it.
In the film Bela Lugosi from 1996, Christopher Lee showed a ring he said he had worn in one of his Dracula films, because Christopher Lee apparently played Bela Lugosi, which makes sense because Christopher Lee's played Dracula also.
Yeah, in Hammer films.
Yeah. And which was a duplicate of the one worn here by Bela Lugosi. The ring also appeared in the film House of Dracula from a couple years before that.
Oh, okay.
Lastly, Vincent Price provides the voice of the Invisible Man in the final shot, interacting with Abbott and Costello. However, Price was not involved in Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man in 1951.
I heard about that.
Shame. They should have.
Agreed.
So, Jacob, what is your first like for this film?
It's an absolute classic. This movie just, again, I'd be like, I saw the film a few years ago over at our friend's house, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. This is funny. Now, watching again for the review, I was dying watching this film. I guarantee my wife walks in the house after her Bible study and kind of looks at me funny and be like, okay, why are you like, I'm bawling over in laughter. Be like, again, I'll get my second like with that. But like, you're talking about a crisp script. You're talking about A-level actors back in the late 40s. And again, be like, we are very grateful, very, very blessed to still have this stuff, because a lot of this material is gone.
I mean, they were starting to keep a lot of this stuff at this point, even though they still didn't, because they knew they could reissue it in theaters. Yeah. They weren't thinking of video yet.
No, because that wasn't even a thing then.
Yeah. But, and I think this is about the time TV was starting to really take off. And so maybe they were thinking of showing it on television too. That could be part of it. But yeah. We are lucky. It's not far before this that we start getting into tons of lost media. Yeah, simply because no one thought to save it, not because it was bad or anything.
No, and be like, you had fires throughout the years in studios and fires, and like, yeah, we got a lot of lost media that's been gone, and we no longer have any of it. Like I think it was like the original Nosferatu film, be like, that's lost to history.
The original one is. The second one that's from the 20s we have. Yeah. But the original one, it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. So be like, yeah.
And like there's an early form of the Wizard of Oz that's gone now too.
Yeah, there is. There'll be like, there's different parts of the film that we know did exist, but was lost to time. Yeah. And so that's lost media to us. So I think in a very great way, we have these films that we can show them to different generations and let you see their reactions. But this is an all-time classic of a film that has like the star behind it, but like it is, like Drew said before, be like, this is a horror comedy that just takes, be like, I was not expecting to like this film. Be like, I understood, because there again, be like, again, childhood, I didn't like black and white films. As an adult, I appreciate them more. And I was like, wow, okay. Be like, this is going to be funny. Ha ha. To me, I am doubling over in laughter. I'm chuckling. I am trying my best not to laugh out loud with this entire film, because you have this excellent, nice, crispy, lovingly crafted story. You have all these amazing characters, amazing actors, players that are, Bela Lugosi as Dracula, which was absolutely, because they're gonna be like, I remember very early on in my very early years, be like watching something about Dracula, and I think it was Bela Lugosi, and
if it's the original 31 film, then yeah,
because I think I watched that like as a kid, and there again, I didn't appreciate it, but it's like, oh, I know. I'd be like, okay, I know who these are. I know who these actors are. And it was just such a treat to watch. Be like, you have these amazing performances. And again, be like, it's not the, $400 million budget kind of films. They didn't have that back in the day. But the way,
although I would consider this a star-studded cast.
Yeah, it is a star-studded cast. Definitely for the late 40s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a classic. I thoroughly enjoyed the mess out of this. And there's a part of me, I really want to find this on physical format and buy it.
Yeah.
I don't know what my wife will think about that, but we'll get there when we get there.
You are slowly learning what she can and can't put up with.
We've had discussions over this. It's like, okay.
I feel for you.
Thank you.
I'm not to that point, but I do understand what it's like. It's like, oh, but I want to buy this thing. You can't get it. Why? Because we don't have room, Jacob.
That is true. That is true.
You're no longer this purchase no longer just affects you.
That is true.
But anyway,
like believe me, my friend. Be like, when God puts you with, or you finally find that girl in your life that's, oh my gosh, you cannot stay away from her, and you wind up tying the knot. Be like, believe me, you'll understand this really fast.
Sure, I will.
But and I pray for that for you all the time, dude. Be like, I'm praying for that. But because it is a blessing and a half. It's a whole new world, and it's got its own problems, but its own blessings at the exact same time.
Right.
But so this is a timeless classic that everybody should watch. What is your first number one?
My first for this film is it feels like it could be in either universe.
Okay.
Let me explain.
Okay.
This is definitely an Abbott and Costello movie.
Yes.
There is no doubt about this at all.
Of course.
Their comedy is all throughout this thing. And honestly, this movie is some of their best work.
Yes.
At the same time, you take Abbott and Costello's antics out of this film. If you were to separate those out, you'd still have a pretty good monster film, Universal monster film.
Yes, you would.
Because you've got, they're following the rules. To the best of my knowledge, the only continuity breaking thing is that technically the film before this that the Wolfman was in, he was cured of his lycanthropy.
Really?
Yeah. So why he has it again is not really known. If you take the canon that closely.
Oh, okay.
Because you could easily say this takes place before that, except it takes place in modern day. Either way.
Yeah.
But I mean, where this film shines is that they perfectly mash these two seemingly incompatible stories, storytelling methods, and they actually make a good Abbott and Costello film and a good Universal monster movie. And it works. Yes, there's times when it's like, okay, Bela Lugosi's got to pretend in the coffin to do different things so that Wilbur can act according to it, and it works great. There's they have to do stuff like that, but then you also have moments where it's like, oh, the monster's coming, we all gotta run. And we've got to think about this thing. This is not just the original Avengers. I've joked that this is what this is like, because you're bringing in the good Dracula, the classic Wolfman. Yeah, the guy playing Frankenstein's monster, this is his second time in the role.
Yeah.
But he has played him before. So I mean, there's not a person who's playing one of the, all three of the monsters are reprising their roles.
Yes.
They're doing it excellently. You realize this is the first film that does the whole, it's like Spider-Verse, except not Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse is not a good example because that's all the same character. Ready Player One, except good. It's bringing in these things that shouldn't go together.
Yeah, agreed.
But they work so well. It's well written enough. The comedy is on point. The drama fits when it's supposed to. It's just done so well that I remember you were bringing up all the collections that this movie is included with.
Yes.
And one of them was the Frankenstein collection.
Yes.
I remember when that collection was being released, and seeing it in discussions in like film Facebook groups and such, and people saying, "Oh, well, they could have left the Abbott and Costello out because that film's not in the canon with the rest of the Frankenstein films or in the rest of the Dracula films because it was a comedy." And I'm going, dude, I get that that you prefer the more serious fare, and that is fine.
Yeah.
But this is totally within canon.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to let that go and just enjoy the fun of it. Is it goofy? Yes. It's Abbott and Costello. These guys knew how to these guys could make the biggest sourpuss laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also good monster movie stuff from this era. I mean, granted, it's not an art house film.
Yeah.
Granted. But it's still a good classic film, and it's one of the best. It's one of the best comedies I think that's ever been written. And here's the point where I have to turn in my film nerd card and say, this is outside of the original Dracula. This is the only one of the original Universal monster movies I ever watched.
Really?
Yeah, I've just never gone back and watched any of the other ones.
Okay, fair.
Because, like you were talking about earlier, when you're a kid, you see it's in black and white. It's old. Why would I care?
Exactly.
And last year, I did actually sit down and watch Dracula with Bela Lugosi. It was a little slow for my taste, but, it was still a good film.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason it holds up. And I just have not gotten around to watching any of the rest of them. So, yeah, I'm sure there's jokes in here I'm not getting because I don't know the Universal monster stuff that well.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still cool to see this, what I think of as AAA effort into what could have just been a stupid comedy film.
Oh, agreed.
It's just perfect. Will say I did enjoy the fact that I actually recognized the Frankenstein lab equipment that was in this that I would later see in Young Frankenstein. I do appreciate that I actually was able to see that and make us like, oh, it's that stuff again.
Yeah.
And then and the guy who created it would never get credited until Young Frankenstein, which is like Universal, get your stuff together.
Well, it was back in the day.
It's different. They didn't credit set design, but still.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that it's a good Abbott and Costello film and it's a good monster movie.
Agreed.
So what's your second?
My second like, I've already kind of gushed over the comedy because they're gonna be like, I have very unique taste on comedy.
For those who don't know, Jacob's not a big comedy fan. It's not that he doesn't like comedy.
Exactly. I have a funny bone.
It's just there are certain aspects of some comedies that don't work with him.
Yeah.
Galaxy Quest.
Yes. I'm going to have to atone for my sins and go rewatch that film.
You're not going to have to atone. I'm not going to force you to watch the film.
Yeah, against my will. It's against my will.
This is against my will, against my will, against my will, against my will, against my will. This is totally against my will.
Thank you. But oh my gosh, from the onset of the movie starting, it's like, oh, okay, because I've heard of Abbott and Costello.
Yeah.
Because I was slightly confused, be like, but why are they called this? And it's like, okay, they're about their stage names.
Because Abbott and Costello is the brand.
Yeah, exactly. I understood that, but it just took me a second. It was like, I wasn't familiar with it, but I had a general understanding. I just didn't fully understand. But once I got the feel and the rhythm, it's like, okay, this is where and it's got this perfect blend of, you have Abbott and Costello and their goofiness and their comedy bits, and then you have the Universal monsters of what they're doing, and the part that cracked me up was the part that I think it's Abbott. What's his name?
Bud Abbott.
Yeah, Bud Abbott.
Wilbur.
Wilbur. Yeah, because Wilbur would be like,
no. Sorry, I just told you wrong. Abbott is Chick.
That's right. Yeah, Wilbur.
Costello is Wilbur.
Costello. That's it. Yeah, because Wilbur, played by Costello, He's waiting for Chick to come back, and he's reading the plaque by the candle. His power's out, and be like he says something, and Dracula lifts the lid up and drops it again. Yeah, drop. It's just like absolutely hysterical. He is losing his ever living mind. Chick comes in, be like, dude, be like you're like it's all in your head. Quit this nonsense. Walks off. It happens again. And it's just absolutely hysterical the entire time. I'm cracking up. It's like, oh my gosh, where is comedy like this now?
Yeah.
Be like, you have the perfect blend of suspense and just white knuckle comedy. It's just like perfect blend. And that's where I like it. Be like, there again, I'm the kind of guy who loves movies like Blazing Saddles or classic or Spaceballs.
Also a classic.
Some director of those,
Mel Brooks.
Be like, I love Mel Brooks films because they're going to be like those films I was introduced to from my father.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I enjoy those. And then you have Abbott and Costello, and it's like, okay, you have this different level of comedy. But like you're telling a story.
This is vaudeville comedy.
Yeah,
basically.
It's definitely vaudeville comedy.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely genius when it comes to the comedy, and I think nowadays they try to make everything way too serious, and you're trying to get too political about everything. And this is more like it's all situational, and it sticks with the story, and it's not trying to, hey, let me throw this joke at you in the middle of like a serious scene. It's like it throws you for a loop. That's where I don't like serious comedy. Give me something, either it's a romantic comedy or something like this.
You like your comedies to be a little more goofy.
Yeah, exactly.
It does the juxtaposition of a deep serious story, and then you have this weird comedy moment. Story.
Exactly.
That's really the problem you have.
That's my problem
with Galaxy Quest. It is actually trying to tell a deep artistic story.
Yeah,
but it's doing it comedically, and it works for me.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Didn't work for you.
Yeah. Because I'm going to have to go back and rewatch that.
Yeah.
It's okay. Because there again, I got hammered. It's like, oh my gosh, you don't like this film?
Me and Jim were not kind to you.
No, you were not. You were not.
We're off topic, but we'll get back on topic in a second.
Fair.
I will just say the fact that you didn't like that film threw me.
Yes, agreed.
Because I knew you had seen Star Trek. I knew you much even if you didn't watch much of the original show, because I know you didn't. There's a lot of things there you would watch and go, okay, yeah, I get the joke. I get what they're doing here.
Right.
And the fact that we started that episode and you go, yeah, I really don't like this film. I didn't find it that funny. And I'm going, did we watch the same film? It was that kind of difference.
Yeah, fair. It was this juxtaposition. It's like, oh my gosh, I love this. I didn't like it.
And admittedly, it was just because it didn't work for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll admit, the first time I watched Galaxy Quest, it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
It was many years later. But we are not here to talk about Galaxy Quest. Back to the slapstick comedies of Abbott and Costello meeting a bunch of monsters and being scared to death.
Oh, yeah. But, like, yeah, you have Wilbur, I love this performance of Costello.
Uh-huh.
It's just like these two actors just ping off each other like magnets.
Oh, yeah.
You have the straight-laced guy, and you have the cowardly guy, and it's just like every time they'll be like, it's just like, like you said, Broadville. Like most people would be like, Broadville was like before it was like the early stage of film and that kind of stuff.
It's the stuff that like the Three Stooges came from, and Laurel and Hardy, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's what most of the original Looney Tunes cartoons are mimicking. In fact, there's 5 cartoons where they mimicked Abbott and Costello.
Yes.
And my favorite one being one of the cats with Babbitt, and I can't remember what the Costello joke was.
Yeah.
Where they're trying to get the Tweety Bird.
Oh, yeah.
That's a funny episode.
I agree. I remember that one. But, just iconic kind of comedy, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And I wish they would make more comedies like this. I really wish they would. Mm-hmm. But I think that's I don't
know if they know how to make a comedy like this anymore.
No, I don't think they do.
I mean, a sitcom director might have been able to pull it off.
Yeah.
Because this is very situational comedy.
Yeah, it is.
You do see stuff kind of like this when you get to like the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, sitcoms. But those eventually went away for more dramatic storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. But like, yeah, this is just classic comedy gold, and I love it. So yeah, that is my second like is the Broadwell, just like old school comedy duo, and it's just like Costello just being the goober he is on I don't want to call it cellophane because it wasn't cellophane on film, celluloid back in the day. And I'm, again, very grateful this is around for generations later, including my generation, to watch. So what is your second like?
You mentioned the scene a minute ago, but it is the scene where they're delivering the 2 crates to the House of Horrors.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
And they get that first one in there, and, of course, it's Dracula. And Abbott and Costello is reading the museum piece on it, while in the background you see you hear the creaking of movement in there.
Perfect.
The raising of the coffin lid and it coming back down, and Costello going, Abbott. What's
Chick?
Yeah, sorry, Chick, not Abbott.
Yeah, Chick.
What's wrong? Dracula's in there. It's like, no, he's not. Did the candle move? Yeah, the candle moved. The candle moving joke is to me is the funniest bit of it, because they put the candle down because the power's out.
Yes,
and Abbott's Wilbur is over there reading the card on the other side, and as he's reading it, the lid comes up and the candle slides down, and you just see Wilbur's eyes follow while he's still quoting whatever's on that card, and going check. Perfect. It's so absolutely perfect. And then one of my favorite moments in that is while Chick Wilbur is looking away, Dracula gets up out of the coffin, closes it, walks over to the other wax statues, and just puts his cape over it like he does.
Yes.
And just stands there while Chick and Wilbur go over there. They open the coffin. See, there's not even anything in here. Why you think Dracula's in there?
Oh, let's open the bigger box.
Let's open the bigger box. And then Dracula gets back in the coffin, and they start trying they start trying to dig through whatever that paper shipping material is.
Yeah.
And I think Wilbur gets a hold of Frankenstein's hand. And
he uncovers his face. And
uncovers his face, which scares him to death, because of course it would be.
Yeah.
And they all run out, because I think the McDougal finally got there.
Yeah, McDougal and be like...
And in the intervening time, Dracula comes out, wakes up Frankenstein's monster, and they go and somewhere else. They go backstage, basically, so they can do this other scene. And they get there, it's like, see, they're not... and they go, your shipping company is horrible. My shipments didn't even get here, and these crates are empty. Well, it's like it's that great setup, and then they get out, and he gets Frankenstein to just take the coffin out with him. It's like,
just
take it out because you have to, because according to what Wilbur just read, Dracula must return to his coffin within 24 hours. So it's like, okay, you're at least following your rules. It was just so... It was like the whole thing. I'm busting out laughing watching this whole segment because it's so perfectly timed.
Yes.
And yet when we break in there for a short bit for Dracula to wake up Frankenstein and explain why Dracula is waking up Frankenstein and what that big deal is, in that moment where it shifts to, okay, we got to do the monster story bit right quick, and then it shifts back, it doesn't feel like... This is what I was getting at earlier. Yeah, it's two different feeling things, but it doesn't feel different. It's good and connected. But this scene, to me, is the perfect moment of that, because you've got this one character who is scared to death of all of this stuff, and you've got someone else saying, oh, it's all in your head, you don't have to worry about it, and every time he walks away, weird, creepy things are happening, and it's funny to watch, because you're just waiting there. You're just waiting to see what weird, crap, funny thing is going to happen next. And you know it's going to go away when shit gets back in there.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to reset, and it's like, okay. But yeah, that scene to me is like if you were to distill this whole movie into the perfect scene, it's that scene.
It's that scene.
Almost
Agreed.
the rest of it, while it's there, it works. But it's like, this is the scene you sell to the studio heads. You know, this is why we're making this film. Imagine what else we can do with this setup.
Yes.
So yeah, the unloading the crates is my my second like of this movie.
Perfect scene.
What's your third like?
My third like for this film is to kind of go back to what we do as animation. We review animated films, and I was shocked. I was like, oh my gosh. Again, be like, understanding this was the time, this is 1947, 48 when this came out. I'd be like, they use animation to do this transition between his little puppeteer bat form
From Bat to Drac.
And it's done so well. Be like, you have to take the context. It's the late 40s. What else are you going to do? You're going to animate it.
You don't have another way to handle that little bit. And
there's no CG at all.
Which, ironically, is like what the eventual way they'll handle these same types of effects when you get to modern day. They just animate it in 3D instead of 2D, but still.
Exactly.
And it does. Looking at it as a modern audience,
it looks a little chunky.
It's a little, crunchy. Mm-hmm. And and we immediately see what it is, but at the same time, it's like, okay, this is just what they had to do back then. How else are you going to do this? Not everyone can have the Wolfman's frame perfect transitions. Sorry, I jumped in on you.
No, you're good. Be like, it's good when like it is be like to watch something where they're using the technology at the time to do something. At that time, that would have been incredible to watch in theaters. Like, just imagine something like, like a 19-year-old kid who goes into a theater and watches this for the first time. It's like mind-blowing.
Well, I remember, now, granted, I'm about to mention Bill Cosby. I don't support anything he did that got him in trouble.
Right.
But before any of that happened, I was listening to one of his comedy tapes.
Yes.
And he tells the story about how he and his friends would go watch the monster movies, and they'd only see about 15 minutes because once the monster shows up, they were scared in their seats and looking down and hiding from the monsters.
Right.
And there's this one they talk about where they go and it's got all of them. It's got Frankenstein and Dracula and the Wolfman. And I'm thinking, is that this film? No, it's probably one of the other ones they all showed up in. But still, it's like, there's a part of it, it's like, and I think the way that skit ends, it's like they've been there for an hour. They've been there for so long that there's no longer matinee. It's the evening time, and they've got to walk after watching the same horror movie 5 or 6 times. Now they have to walk through the downtown at night.
Yes,
scared to death.
Exactly.
But anyway, I'm sorry, that it reminded me of that. Continue with what you were saying.
But it's just like you put yourself in that situation, and it's like, oh my gosh, that was the state of the art technology at the time, and today it was like you have a profound respect for it. Even though it'd be like that could be done like that nowadays. Yeah, be like, but you have this profound respect for the art, the craft of doing that.
Yeah, because even animation was still state of the art at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
It didn't look bad. It's just, this is what you did.
Yeah, because you're looking at like what?
This is 48.
This is 48.
This is going to be when the short films, the Looney Tunes style short films, were at their peak.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember, when was Snow White and Seven Dwarfs, when did that come out?
That was 30 something.
Yeah, this is 30.
It was pre-World War II.
Yeah. So this is
37, 38?
Yeah, 37. 37.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
May have been 39.
Yeah, because they did that like during the Depression, like the very back end of the Depression.
Yeah.
But it's like, this technology we like to do that kind of animation then was spectacular to watch. And then again, a profound respect of it. And I just love it. It's like, it's done like 3 or 4 times.
3 or 4 times, yeah. And admittedly, the bat they go to is still like a puppet. Mm-hmm. But even that kind of works.
It does. Because you're using puppetry, you're using animation, and live action. And it's just a
Which
nice,
makes this officially a hybrid film.
It is technically a hybrid film.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just, I have profound respect when they do that kind of stuff. Definitely back in the day.
Yeah.
When they did have limited options of what they could do, and they pull it off spectacularly. Yeah, it looks cheesy to the 21st century mindset or viewpoint.
Yeah,
but it's just so good.
It's done well, and it's just how the best they could do it at the time.
Exactly.
It's like when you go back and watch the original 1930s King Kong.
Yes.
To our modern eye, it looks crunchy.
Yes, very.
But you look at it in the mindset of that time, it's amazing what they pulled off.
Agreed. So yeah, that is my third and final like.
My third like for this film, and this is tough because there's so much I want to talk about, you know. But my third and final like for this film is just it's the performance of Bela Lugosi as Dracula.
Agreed.
Granted, Talbot does a good job. Don't get me wrong, but he's just playing the scared guy. It's not as interesting to me. But as a villain, as this classic conniving monster, who, to quote another movie, wants to suck your blood. I'm sure Adam Sandler's Dracula loves me saying that. He does such a good job. It astounds me when I'm doing research for this, because like I said, I have not watched much of the other Universal monster movies. The only other one I've watched is Dracula, and it astounds me that in all the other performances of Dracula in the Universal monster, classic Universal monsters, it's not Bela Lugosi playing Dracula. Why? He's perfect. He has the look down. He defined what like I said, Adam Sandler's version in Hotel Transylvania is mimicking
It is
Bela Lugosi's.
Yes.
It's why I have to question Universal's thought process at this time. Why they weren't, I don't know if maybe they just didn't like working with Bela Lugosi or what, or maybe Bela Lugosi didn't want to do it for a while. I don't know. But Bela Lugosi's performance as Dracula in this, I think, is what gives this movie the monster movie clout that it has. Is why it's not just a cheap comedy. It's the fact that you do have the original. Maybe you don't have the original Frankenstein monster. You don't have Boris Karloff.
Right.
The fact that you have the three people who created these roles or trained in these roles as in classic horror monster films, and then have put them in here to basically do what they were doing before, while Abbott and Costello are jumping around making fools of themselves. They are what lead. It's like what's his name in Airplane that he's also in The Untouchables. The guy from Unsolved Mysteries.
Robert Stack.
Robert Stack. It's like Robert Stack in Airplane. He's not the joke. He's
the straight man.
He's the straight man. All the joke is all the funny stuff happening around him, but he gives that role such a performance that the comedy would not work as well. And that's the same here. Bela Lugosi is doing Dracula so well. Okay. So in touch that role, it makes the comedy stand out in contrast and makes it better. Okay. It allows he doesn't have to be he is the straight man in that role, but he's also still being this character that still needs to be able to scare kids without being like bloody and dark. And I still don't get the whole holding his cape up to his mouth and walking around like that all the time. I have no idea why he does this. He doesn't need to, but it gives that air of, I am Count Dracula. I bid you welcome. That just cements his performance in that role. There's a reason that Bela Lugosi is what all future vampires are based off of in cinema.
Yeah,
Not
agreed.
so you get to Twilight, and that's a whole nother problem.
Yeah, no.
But
No sparkles, please. No
no
sparkles.
sparkle pyres, please. But there's a reason that he is what cemented that look for so long, and that's because it is classic. So yeah, Bela Lugosi's performance as Count Dracula,
Yes,
is my third like for this film. Not saying the other two monster actors don't do a good job. I think they do an excellent job, but Bela Lugosi just puts it over the top. And I think if he wanted to play more Dracula, they should have let him.
Yeah, agreed.
So we finished likes.
Yes.
Now the hard part. Dislikes.
Okay.
What's your first dislike for this
My
film?
first dislike. Now, granted, this is a nitpick, and I know me.
And I think that's going to be a lot of our choices.
Again,
here.
it's a nitpick, and I think me and Drew had a conversation about it the night before or last night. during Bible study.
a historical issue.
Yeah, a little historical issue. But my one and only dislike of this film, again, it's a nitpick, is the Wolfman. Again, performance amazing.
Yeah.
Because how many times does he transform in this movie? Like 4 times?
3 or 4 times, and it's the same actor.
Yeah, it's the exact same actor.
The face actor and the suit actor, same guy.
Yeah, so there again, I don't have an issue with that. The fact that he transforms 4 times, so there's a full moon.
So you can give the first 2 full moons a pass,
Yeah,
because they're
because
obviously the
he's
same
in Europe.
full moon just after he's flown.
Yeah, exactly.
How he didn't change on the plane,
That is true.
but
Or the boat.
well,
it'd
it
been
had to have
before.
been a plane because
Yeah.
he was in London the night before.
That is true.
And now it's in Florida.
Yeah, he's in Florida. So you had the first transformation, you have the second transformation, and then how do you describe? How do you fit in? Let me finish first.
Yeah, sorry,
Let me finish. How do you describe? How do you fit in the last 2 transformations? Because we know lunar cycles only last like correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Full lunar cycles, if you have a full moon, it only lasts like what, a day, one night or 2.
Officially, if you're talking about a full moon where there's no shadow of the earth upon the surface of the moon,
Right.
that happens 1 night a month.
Yeah, 1 night a month. Okay.
On average.
on
Because
average.
the month is not a lunar month.
Okay.
Our month is not a lunar month. It's based on other things, even though it's originally based on the lunar month. But then Julius Caesar and
Augustus.
Caesar Augustus had to have their own months,
Yes, they did.
which is why the 10th month begins with the Latin word for 8, and the 11th month starts with 9, and the 12th month starts with 10.
Right.
Thank you, Caesar.
Yeah.
Thanks, Caesar.
Your Caesar salad's okay, but your month time is not so much. Either or. So I came across this issue when I first watched the time I watched this viewing was like, wait a minute, okay, I get his transformation when in England, in Europe, when he comes to Florida, okay, I can get that.
Yeah, you can kind of work with that.
You can work with that. The other ones are like, okay, we need him to transform, so we're gonna have the moon pop up again in a full eclipse, and it's like, okay, that doesn't really work because we know how the cycle of the moon works,
right?
But be like,
I'll let you finish. I have a rationalization.
Okay, I get it, but be like, you can for movie logic, you can be like suspend reality and be like, oh, the moon's just going to stay there for a couple of days before we can have this, great fight. You have this great fight between, the Wolfman and Frankenstein and Dracula or what have you for, movie effect, for, thrills and horror or what have you. But if we're trying to base it in reality, be like, he should have only transformed twice. So, and again, I understand why they did it.
Right,
I understand
right.
why they did it. But if we're talking, chronologically and lunar? No, that sounds more like something out of Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
But lunarly, be like, it makes no sense.
Probably not a word, but I don't care.
Probably not. But yeah, that is what that's my only critique of this film is like you have multiple transformations and there's only 2 of them that should count. Otherwise, he just be like, I think I see a moon.
Okay.
Transform.
Okay, hang on.
Go ahead. Thank
Calm down. First off, let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Let's say you have gone outside and you look up and you have not looked at the calendar to see if this is astronomically when the full moon is.
Right.
If you look up and you see a circular moon, is it a full moon?
Technically. But be like, if we're
Now let me also throw this
Okay.
at you. How much of on an actual full moon, the definition of a full moon is what we see is that there is no shadow on the moon that's facing us. The moon is all of the light from the sun is reflecting off the moon to the earth, right?
Yeah, technically, we would we have a full moon the entire time, but we can only see parts of it throughout the lunar cycle.
Here's a fun little. I would bet if we're talking about the original myth,
the original
of the
myth.
werewolf,
yes, transforms during the full moon.
They are not referring to the one day a month that the moon is technically up in the sky for 12 hours evenly.
Right.
Because here's a fun fact, and for those of you who don't know about this, when a moon is full, it will be up all night long.
Okay, yeah.
When a moon is still in its new moon phase, it's up during the daytime.
Okay.
So if you know where to look, you can still kind of make out where the moon is, even though you can't really see it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You can see an object up there that is the moon, and it is reflecting light from the sun.
Yeah.
But it's weird. And when it's transitioning in the from full moon to new moon, both directions, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It comes around like the moon will, like if it's a half moon.
Yeah.
And on a waxing, if it's a waxing half moon, it's moving towards a full moon, and we're at the halfway part.
Yes.
The moon will actually come up around noon and set at midnight.
That makes sense.
And consequently, when it's waxing, it will rise at midnight and fall and sink at noon.
Okay.
So, what I'm getting at here.
Okay.
Most people, your common standard villager, probably is going to look up at the sky at night about 4 nights of the thing and say basically that's a full moon, because you really cannot tell the difference between a full moon and either side of it for a couple days. It looks the same. Unless you are actually looking at what time the moon is rising and falling and all that stuff. I would also be more willing to bet. Granted, I'd have to actually go and look at actual Wolfman stories. I bet this is not an uncommon occurrence in that it's about a 2 or 3 days time period. And plus, I know in some modern werewolf fiction, they can transform whenever they please.
Right.
It's just at the full moon is when it's out of their control and they are forced to transform.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
So,
in some of the lore, yes.
In this case, in his lore, I do believe it is a force to transform on a full moon only. He doesn't have control over it, and it's definitely, you can see when he transforms here, he has no control over it whatsoever. But I would be willing to bet you've got a 4-day leeway.
Yeah.
Around it. Maybe you have the full moon night, and then you have like the 2 days leading up to it, and the 2 days preceding it.
Right.
Where if he looks up, and granted, it's not just that there's a full moon out. The clouds can't even be in the way of the full moon. Right. So it's obviously the light from the full moon that's transforming him. If we're really going to get pedantic, do we really want to cut that off at 100% when 99 should technically still do it? True. Just saying. That's. I get what you're getting at. Yeah. At the same time, I think it's a nit that's infinitesimally small that you're picking.
Exactly. And there was so much of this film I really enjoyed. Yeah. Like even like looking at the minute, just very the fraction of be like, oh, this wasn't good.
Yeah.
But But like overall, I enjoyed this film, so this is the only thing I could nitpick at, and I think you did a very good job defending it. And yeah, that's the only dislike again, nitpick about this film.
My main nitpick on this film, well, I've got 2 dislikes.
Okay.
But I'm going to start with my nitpick.
Okay.
My nitpick is, why is Frankenstein got so little power?
That is true, because it's never really explained.
We see Dracula wake him up. It would make sense that if there is a way to power Frankenstein down for transport in an airplane, you do that.
Right, because you don't want...
But once you've got him charged up enough that he can pick up your coffin and walk over to your swamp castle... I have questions about that, but that's I don't really nitpick that.
Agreed.
After you've got him that far... I would like to think, maybe just give him some food. He'll be fine. Why do you have to? I get the point. Dracula's point is
because he's the undead.
I know Dracula.
Why does undead need food?
I know that Dracula's point. Well, the reason Dracula has Frankenstein over there is because Frankenstein's monster over there is because he wants to replace the brain of the intelligent person in there. Because this is obviously based more on the actual book than the movies. This version of Frankenstein. Because if you've never read the original Frankenstein book, he's well spoken.
That's what I keep hearing.
Yeah, but because it's the original, and it's the Frankenstein's is the original science fiction novel, by the way. But even though she had no idea how glaciers worked,
it happens.
But I know the whole point of bringing him over there was so they could put a more obedient brain into the monster. But I don't understand. I can see maybe why they powered him down, but it's like, you've got the monster over there. He's already calling you master. He's subservient at the moment. Just don't make him do anything he's going to, disagree with. And besides, he's still active enough in the movie and to still be a quote unquote villain for our 2 heroes. So I don't understand why he's like, half the time we run into him, he's pretty much dead if he's immortal.
Yeah, but like, again, most of the time when you see Frankenstein monster, he's literally just sitting there, or he's trying to... he's there for more like a comedy relief in some capacity.
Right. There's a couple of moments where he is chasing around Wilbur and Chick. But for the most part, he's a plot point. Is the entire reason he's there. And that's, I think, what gets me is like, Frankenstein's monster should be and granted, you can't have Frankenstein's monster doing the stuff that Dracula's doing at the party and pretending to be human, and you can't have him doing the Wolfman stuff. And there's admittedly, the way the story is written, there's not much chance for him to go around stomping around and scaring the villagers. It's not that kind of movie until it's time for him to go chasing around Costello and Abbott. But I wish they'd have found a better way to handle Frankenstein's monster instead of him having to be recharged every night like he's a cell phone.
Agreed.
Especially when you describe him as being immortal but dormant.
Yeah.
Well, technically he should be able to run around now. I don't know.
Yeah,
like I said, it's a nit. This is my nitpick because it's like the movie works for what it is, but I still have to wonder. I still think it feels like you're doing Frankenstein's monster dirty by having him be inactive for so much of the film.
Yeah, because I think that they had to find a way in order to put Frankenstein in the movie,
especially since the movie is named after him.
Yeah,
and he's barely in it. He's in it, but I mean, he barely does anything.
Yeah, because like if it was Abbott and Costello meet Dracula,
which is really more of what it is.
Because that's what you have more interaction with.
Yeah.
But again, I understand this because you want to use, Costello's brain to make the monster more subservient to Dracula, even though that's already a thing. It's already been implied.
Yeah.
But it's just
it's like I said, it's a nit that I'm picking, but I just wish Frankenstein's monster got to do more in a movie named after him.
Agreed.
Did you have any more dislikes? Because I do have one more.
The only other dislike I can think of would be if the location between, okay, we have the warehouse scene in Florida to, like Drew described, the swampy castle. But like all of these locations are so close to each other because they're gonna be like everything's built on sets. You can't do like big destinations.
And I get that you're trying to in a way make sense. Like you still want to do the Dracula's castle. It's part of the visual motif, and you've got to have it in a way where they can't leave it very easy.
Yes.
So you put it on an island in a swamp because it's Florida.
Yeah.
And I get the feeling this is taking place in Florida only because there's swamps there. Mm-hmm. And you didn't think about Louisiana.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't think Abbott and Costello could pull off a Cajun accent, but...
Yeah, no, it's again, it'd be like, it's your plot in the movie, and you have to, again, be like, you're dealing with, a limited budget, you're dealing with a stage, and so you have to kind of make everything close enough, but they feel far away, but they're close enough.
While you're still fitting the motif of what you're doing.
The proximity to each other is way off. Yeah.
So my last dislike for this, and this came up during the research, not while watching the film.
Got it.
While according to the director, and the writers and all this and the crew, the actors playing the monsters were a delight to work with. They actually loved getting up there and doing it. They were having a good time. Mm-hmm. The problem children, the monsters of the film, the real monsters of this film, were Abbott and Costello. They did not want to do this.
No, they didn't.
They were apparently pains in the butt to work with on this. That's one of those things I wish I didn't know. I think my dislike is that I now know it.
Yeah.
And I've cursed you all with it. But you just hate to find out that this classic film had such strife in it, and the problem is not the classic actors who are having a ball in this. It's the guys who are supposed to be the funny men.
Yeah.
Who are just they're putting their best foot forward, and they're being professional comedians and actors, but the fact that they were apparently pains in the neck to work with, that's disappointing. On this project. So that's my dislike, is the fact that apparently Abbott and Costello were pains in the butt for everyone else to work with.
Okay.
You have anything else?
No.
I really don't.
I totally get it. I really don't either.
What are you rating this film, Jacob?
Oh, it's a 9. It's a solid 9.
I actually agree. This is a 9. It's not perfect.
No.
But this is a classic. This is Abbott and Costello's masterpiece, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
This is like their best thing, in my opinion.
Agreed. They're going to be like, I haven't seen a lot either. Most of anything Abbott and Costello, but this is just gold.
I've seen a couple of their other stuff. I mean, it's this and Who's on First is what they're good at. So it is their best stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely giving it a 9.
Okay.
Next week, we are continuing with our classic monsters of vampires, Frankenstein's monsters, and wolfmen. Mm-hmm. But we're going to a Rankin Bass special. Mm-hmm. A special I only know existed because I remember us selling the DVD at Walmart when I worked there, and I've not watched it. Mad Monster Party. I know nothing about this. I hope it's not a disappointment. So join us next week for that. Join us after the break, and we'll get to talking about some Spy Family and probably my favorite arc of this story so far.
Indeed.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
This week, we suggest checking out the Retro Rewind podcast. Every other week, you can join the Retro Rewind podcast as they travel back 15 or more years along the entertainment space-time continuum in their mission to review movies and games, establishing what is still worth your time today. You can expect fun banter and trivial insights from Francisco Paul and a rotating cadre of guest hosts who are all out of time. The Cellcast would also like to thank the following patrons: Ashley and Francisco Ruiz, PaulJPowers.com, The Monster Island Film Vault, and Edwin Gonzalez. If you would like to have your name shouted out on the show, some special art for Jacob, uncut episodes, or for an additional $5, make us review something in 2025 within reason. You can donate to us on Patreon or just give us a little DM and we'll talk about parameters. Also, there's a shirt you need to go purchase on our Redbubble store. Come Halloween, it is gone. I will be deleting it off of the store on Halloween night. Go get it now.
Yes.
While you still can. You can find a link to our Redbubble store in our show notes.
Yeah.
So go there.
James Bond Jr. Impossible. Call me big man if you wanna reach me. When you wanna page me, it's okay.
The man from Flintstone. What an agent, what a squirrel. He's got the country in a whirl. What's his name? Shh, secret swirl.
Johnny Quest.
Anybody want to feel it?
Mission 30, Plan to Cross the Border, adapts chapters 44 and 45 of the manga, and it is part of the Cruise Adventure arc. And in fact, we're getting into the meat of the Cruise Adventure arc in this episode. We're starting it anyway. In this episode, Yor is tasked with protecting the only survivors of the Gretcher family, Olka and her son, and helping them escape to a different country by traveling on a cruise ship. In this episode, we have the debut of the shopkeeper, played by Jim Ferranda. That is the shopkeeper of Garden.
Yes.
The elite assassins guild that Yor is a part of. We also meet Olka Gretcher, played by Mallory Rodak, and her little boy Graham, played by Lisette Monique Diaz. And I had to dig to find out who played him because it was not on IMDb or the Spy Family Wiki. The unnamed Garden members who opened the door for Yor and Matthew in the beginning of this episode had dark hair in the manga, while here he has light hair. That's about the only trivia I was able to find. Other than last week, I mentioned that we debuted Matthew, but I did not say who he was.
Okay.
Saying it was going to come up later. This is the episode where it was later. Because, Matthew is Yor's boss at City Hall.
Yes.
In this episode, it's revealed he also works for Garden. As I don't know if he's technically Yor's boss or if he's just part of her team, handler's team. I think he's technically her handler in this. So, yeah. What's your thoughts on this episode? Bear in mind, I have to specify this because Homeboy here watched more than the requisite 2 episodes.
I couldn't help myself. I could not. So like, this is getting too good.
Bear in mind, this episode ends about the time we start seeing the other people who are coming after our the Gretchers.
Yes.
We about the time we realize the ship is full of listening devices.
Yeah, which is freaking amazing. But like, you have this setup where so we finally get to see.
We finally get Yor having a full arc to herself.
Yeah, Yor be like, we understand, but like, okay, the organization she works for, like why she does things. Well, we learn that later on, but It's like she's given an assignment. It's like she's not assassinating people, she's protecting people, and so this is like a new thing for her. And the is this the episode where, get me wrong, I watched 4 episodes.
You watched a couple episodes.
So just for clarification, so be like you have okay, you have Anya and
Lloyd are on the cruise also.
Because they
Anya won a drawing. Well,
a drawing.
She won a drawing.
When you can read the guy's mind, and you know, he won't shut up where it is. He just grabs it
because he actually had it set aside so he could win the secret ballot.
Exactly.
And Anya says, "Oh, well, I know where it is now. Chink.
Mm-hmm. Gimme."
What you're saying?
Yeah, it's just like it's so you have this. I don't want to say hijinks ensues, but it's there. You have these. You have Lloyd and Anya are going on this trip while Yor is on a mission. She has to pretend like she's going on this trip, and they all happen to be on the same ship.
Yeah,
and so you
the
have
Lorelei.
Yeah, the Lorelei, and you have this contrast where Anya is like, oh my gosh, I'm on this great adventure, and be like, they get stuck in third class because obviously
that was funny.
That was so funny. She was like, oh my gosh, this happened.
I think we made a wrong turn and we're on the wrong we're on the wrong boat or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, this is just what third class looks like. I just want to point out, for the sake of any cruise lines that want to support us, that you don't get third class anymore. Everyone gets a normal, at least a regular stateroom. At least. Third class is saved for the people who work on the ship.
Yes.
Anyway, you were saying?
Yeah, it's just like you get that, you get the contrast of like what's going on because you have Lloyd and Anya and their little adventure, and like what they're doing and what Yor's doing, and it's just like it's this nice little contrast of what they're doing. It'd be like they're kind of missing each other, but and then you have this like moment of crisis where I think this is the same book. Quote me where if I'm stepping into the next episode. Other episodes or not.
This episode is just mostly setting up the tension. There's
exactly.
We don't get any of the actual
like action until next episode. I think, am I right? It's the one like the action starts in the next episode.
I think so. I don't think in this first one we get the first attack.
Yeah,
but we do know that it's in this episode that they put listening devices all over the ship. And one of them does catch the conversation she's having with Miss Gretcher. Yeah,
and it's just like it's a nice setup to what's going on. Is again, Yor is more of a focus in this arc, and Lloyd and Anya are more. They're more in the background, and they do interact later on with each other.
Yeah,
but it's great, and then you get in the next episode, which is like, oh my gosh, things just got.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Things hit the wall.
We will get to that in a minute.
Yes, we will.
I really like the setup for this episode as we're coming into it. The couple of things happening at us finally actually getting to meet Yor's organization, because we haven't yet to meet them
exactly,
and actually seeing, okay, here's how she fits in there. Here's why. She's called Thorn Princess, because we have a garden theme. The entire point of the Assassin's Guild is to prune the bad parts of the world away so that the world will be beautiful, is their thought process. Granted, the shopkeeper is very weirdly drawn.
Yes, he is.
But yeah, you let that be what it is. He's not going to be on screen all the time. But they're set up for this where they're explaining what happened. The fact that this is actually about even though that you gotta remember the show takes place in Estonia, Lloyd works for Westalis. The fact that this is someone trying to escape Estonia and is using Thorn Princess's organization to do it, because that I thought that was interesting. Like, okay, so yeah, her organization, while it has been shown up to this point to be very pro Estonia, they're not above taking care of they're not Estonia loyal. They're not completely
not
loyal to
loyalists.
Estonia. It's not an Estonia organization.
Yeah.
They're not under the thumb of the regime. So that at least gives us at least some hope that if the crap ever does hit the fan and we get that Yor versus Lloyd eventual
Does happen?
thing, that I'm convinced has to happen eventually.
It probably will.
It's not going to be like Westalis versus Estonia. It's not going to be like she can't switch over. It's going to be like it's not going to be out of loyalty to her country. That might she might have to betray. It'll just be whether or not she continues working for her Assassin's Guild. But anyway, but the setup there where she's going to be going on this cruise, and then it happens to be the same cruise that Anya wins the ticket from. So they go down there on a train to get on there.
Yeah.
And that whole bit, and then you get on the ship, and they're doing a great setup where it's like, okay, Lloyd and Anya, they're off having one cruise, and Yor is having to go off and work, as far as they know. I mean, Anya obviously knows a little bit more because she read Yor's brain, but
right.
And then you've got the whole thing with like setting up how they're hiding the thing, how this is supposed to go down if crap didn't hit the fan. That whole it was a good, nice step. Like, here's how things are supposed to go. So now that when we get to the next couple episodes and it all kind of falls apart, you understand how and why what we're seeing and why this works so good for a Yor story. Because not to spoil anything, she kicks some major tail coming up.
She does.
And it's great to watch. Because that has been the problem, I think, of the show up to this point, is while we've gotten a lot of good Anya stories, we've gotten a lot of good Lloyd stories, we've had, up until this point, one Yor story.
Yeah.
And it was, Yor is trying to learn how to cook better. I'm not saying it wasn't a good episode.
Right.
But honestly, I'm glad to see we're finally getting one where it's like, okay, she's the head of the story. It's her job. It's her job as an assassin that is the focus of this story. And it's Lloyd and Anya. It's Lloyd who has to actually be the
background
character for a change, which is different. It's a change for this
dynamic up.
And I appreciate the way this handles it and the way this sets it up. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the next one.
Yeah, let's do that.
Mission 31, The Fearsome Luxury Cruise Ship. Adapts chapters 46, 47, and the first 9 pages of chapter 48. He cuts the chapter 48 in half. Of course, we're still in the cruise adventure arc. In this episode, after boarding the cruise ship, Yor began her duty as a bodyguard to Olka and her son. Meanwhile, Yor's superior, Matthew, finds an assassin who is after Olka and her son.
Yes.
This episode ends partially on chapter 48 and is currently the first and only episode to do so with a chapter. And in the manga, Yor's heels have a slight different design, with the anime having an additional strip running down the middle of her foot. I don't know why they made that change, but that's what I guess it gives. And for whatever reason, I actually have, starting with these episodes, I am having a hard time finding trivia. I don't know why that is.
Interesting.
So, yeah. We get this episode. There's 2 parts. Basically, you can. There's more. There's like 3 parts of this episode. There is us finding out that the cruise ship doesn't just have 1 or 2 people who are going to try and try to take out this woman. The boat is full of people who are going to try and take this woman and her son out.
Yes.
You've got one of them goes and tries to get in early before anyone else, proposing his room service. And Yor gets to knock him out. And of course, Matthew finds out realizes there's one there and interrogates that guy brutally.
Yeah.
And I love how every time they take somebody out, they just throw them off the boat.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I'm sitting there watching. Are you telling me nobody from the regular crew is not looking over the side and seeing these bodies thrown out and not doing the man overboard drill?
Maybe they're cued in and be like, hey, there's something going on. Just don't worry about the bodies dropping.
I'm just saying there's some regular people who are probably on this cruise, like technically Lloyd and Anya are,
right?
That should not be aware that all this stuff is going down, who might be at the railing of the ship looking over and might see some of these people get thrown off the ship. But that doesn't matter. This is fun.
Yeah.
And we get the idea. It's like, okay, there's a ton of people here. They're going to take it out. And you get the whole thing with them trying to get to the other room, but through a masquerade ball.
Yes.
And you get that part there where one of the guys is going up and is going to, like, I guess, stab Gretcher, like, a knife. And Yor cuts in front of him and just hits every single one of his pressure points.
It drops him
while dancing and says, by the way, I'm married, and throws him off into this chair. And the guy walks up and says, you've drank too much.
Oh, the one that got me. So when they walked into that ballroom, be like, obviously they have the mask on the whole bit. The fact to be like, she's like, oh, someone's here. I can sense their bloodlust. And takes the guy's, hold on. The button from his jacket, it literally just flicks at this guy.
Yeah.
And it just drops him like a hammer.
He's not even aware.
No, he's not even aware what
has happened.
Just,
it's like,
yeah, it's
because
like,
he's going through this big long soliloquy in his head about, I am this guy. There's no way they recognize me. You've had too much. This is where the guy says you had too much to drink.
Exactly. But this episode, like you had this great setup in the last episode. This is where everything starts paying off.
Yeah,
and you have you like, again, you have this more like not like conflict with Yor, be like, why does she does this and why she does this, and you start to realize she's starting to slip up a little bit. So you have the moment where it's her and her client and the little kid are in the room, and she makes the mistake of realizing, be like, it's room service, and not checking. And so you get this amazing.
Well, I mean, she looks and sees that it's room service, and she says, and she tells Gretchen, this says, well, I didn't order any, and then she says, get down.
Yeah, get down, and then you have the gunfight.
Yeah,
and obviously, Matthew? Like, Matthew shows up, stuns the guy for a moment, and the moment that shocked me, because most of them you just see like Yor, because they describe me like, I'm losing my like. Don't you love it when you're
who are you trying to figure out?
No, it's just more what they call Yor in the
Thorn Princess.
Yeah, not Thorn Princess. They're like what she goes by, Forger. They call her Forger. Be like, and so be like they set up it's like, oh, okay, because everyone's describing it like, it's like, oh yeah, Forger. Be like, oh, she's so petite. Be like, and Matthew says at one point, be like, but she's really, really strong. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah. And
then you get that moment where it's like, oh, okay, she's found herself caught off guard, and Matthew comes in, stuns the guy for a moment, and the moment that stunned the crap out of me was this moment where be like, he's sitting there and he's be like, I'm gonna do this, and this gold boat goes through the door, and into his head, and it's just like, whoa, what the crap? And it's like, it pans out, and goes through the broken door, and all it is be like, you see Yor in her full Thorn Princess. Yeah, it's like, oh crap, this is like, okay, this is the moment we've all been waiting for to see Yor in. Yeah, we've seen glimpses here and there, but it's like, this is who she is.
It's at this point we actually get, we're about to see Thorn Princess in full bloom.
Exactly. And then you have to see all these great moments where she can't kill people, and again, she's around people, so she has to not create a scene, and finding all these unique ways to take people out. And then, oh my gosh, the scene that always got me. Now, this is in the same episode where you have almost the two parties colliding. You have Twilight.
Lloyd.
Yeah, you have Lloyd and Anya.
This is where that starts, where Lloyd and Anya are in the gift shop there.
Yes.
Because Anya wants this keychain of a green skeleton.
Yes.
That Lloyd does not understand why she wants.
Doesn't
honestly,
understand it, which is hilarious.
I don't understand why she wants this thing either.
It's a little kid.
I get that. Let me rephrase. It's not that I don't understand why she wants it. I don't understand why it's actually on this cruise ship.
Right.
It's an odd thing for a marketing department to do. It's not like it's Halloween. Yeah. But on the ship. Mm-hmm. But but Anya realizes that this guy is going after Yor. But if Lloyd sees her, it might cause them to get a divorce. Oh, yeah. And you get this whole bit where we're seeing it from her point of view with her kid logic. It's like, oh, yeah, because she obviously doesn't think of this thing as the thing the guy has as a weapon. It's a frog on a chain. Yes. And in her mind, he throws the frog on a chain, and Yor goes, "Oh, I hate frogs." And Lois says, "Oh, I heard someone scream. Oh, it's you, Yor. You don't like frogs? Well, I don't like you anymore. We're going to divorce, and we're just going to drop Anya off back at the orphanage too." And it's like, that's not how that's going to work.
Be like, oh, you're fighting a man. I don't believe this.
Let's get a divorce. And Anya says, "Okay, what I've got to do is I've got to get Papa distracted so that he doesn't see Yor. But if he hears a woman scream, he's going to come look." So she does this whole thing about how you're not a cool man. You don't know how to have fun on a
great
vacation.
Little lecture.
And gets him to try on
lecture your dad.
And gets him to try on everything in the store. Yeah. While she's off watching the whole thing, but she forgets for a short minute that he's a master disguise. He can change clothes really fast. And it's not until she reads his mind and he's confused, like, what would actually fit what she wants? I've got to be... There's a reason the handler said that I must take this vacation and rest perfectly, because there's got to be a reason why she said this was a required part of Operation Strix. He's overthinking it. And Anya just walks away. It's like, okay, yeah, he's going to be in there a while. Yeah.
And it's just perfect.
And it's going to go, well, I'm not going to say what's going to happen because that's in the next episode.
Yes.
Because that's where this episode ends. It ends right before
the big conflict.
Yor's about to kick some more butt.
Exactly.
In high heels.
And after that. But, my gosh.
There's a reason this is my favorite arc in this, and I think you already know why. And it's because Yor has been that character for me up until this point where, don't get me wrong, I like Lloyd, but Lloyd's a bit of his paranoia kind of grates on you after a while.
It does.
I appreciate his naivety and why he does things, but it comes a point where he'd been the focus of the story so long that he was kind of getting annoying. I like Anya. I love Anya. Anya's my favorite character in the show, but her shtick was starting to get a little late, and you see Yor off to the side here, and she's not really done anything since the guys nearly tried to kidnap Anya back right before Anya started going to Eden. That was the last time she really did anything. The rest of the time we just see like evidence that she's done stuff. We haven't gotten to see her kick butt in like 20 episodes now. And now we're going to get that. It's like, okay, we're going to have a Yor focused episode, and she's going to get to go full Yor on everybody. She's not just going to be the jokey background character now. We're going to let Lloyd do that. And ironically, Lloyd actually does a pretty decent job at that.
He does.
So, yeah. This arc is still is one of my favorites. Here's a fun fact. I saw to the end of this arc, and then for whatever reason, I didn't finish the show. And it's not that I didn't like it. And Chris Grant, we know other season 3 is coming. I think I just, you know how it is. You're watching a show, you're keeping up with it. Something happens that you miss. Ironically, I was probably on my own cruise ship now that I think about it. But No, this would have been before that. But I think it was we were in the leading months towards the wedding, so I think I just got distracted and missed a couple Saturdays, and the show ended, and I just hadn't got back to it. So like the last 3 episodes of this season, I've not seen.
Really?
Yeah. So we've only got a couple episodes, so it's like, oh, or I'm getting back into the stuff. And I think I remember what it was. Is like I saw to the end of this arc, and I saw that the next episode thing after the credits. And it was very obvious we were going back to the single episode stories again. I was like, oh, that's disappointing. I'll watch this later. And then I never got back to it.
It happens.
So, yeah. Next week, we will be continuing the cruise adventure arc and seeing your kick some more butt. We don't have many more episodes of Spy Family left. So, if you haven't gone to our Facebook group and voted for our next episode series for TAS reviews, please do so now.
Yes.
I haven't checked in a while to see what's winning. I would not be surprised if Batman is still in the lead. But please, go vote on that. You can find it over there at the Cell Nation on Facebook. That's where the poll is. So please, go do that. In the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jim.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day. His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron. And his letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. His Facebook page, Drew's Photobin, to see his photography. His letterboxd page at GGeorge759. His Twitter at GGeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast, on Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming, on YouTube at Cellcast, on Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.
Chick.
Blah, blah, blah.
I don't say blah, blah, blah.
Wrong movie.